Hey everybody, this is Troy from TR Tech Tactical and Survival, and today we are modifying a Savage Axis 308. This is a Walmart special to fit a nicer Bushnell scope. The scope that generally comes with the Savage Axis is well known to not be so good, and mine I got on clearance because there was no scope. There was no mounts either. There was just these tiny little little base mounts here. Well, you can't even call it a weaver really, there's nothing to it. On there, these two clips on here, that's all tiny little pieces. And I had to modify by buying a new weaver rail, an extended weaver rail. I had to modify my rifle to be able to put on a much better scope. So stay tuned as we show you how that works out, and I'll show you the whole process. It was a very easy job. So check it out, guys. Hey guys, I've got the Savage Axis 308 and I'm trying to get my Bushnell Dusk and Dawn scope on here, and with the rings in place, see there's a bolt goes across and that goes in this slot and it cannot go anywhere else, right? With the rings in place, the scope was too big to fit in here, so I started working on this. I didn't know if I could get these screws out or not, so I didn't have the camera going, but I'm going to reverse this mount up front and hope that it gives me enough playroom to mount the scope on here. Now then, I need to get a actual bench for a rifle. I've never had to really work on rifles much. I've always been one for open sights, but as you get a little older and your eyes get a little bit less precise from years of abuse, you got to make changes in life. So I'm going to, sorry, I'm trying to hold the camera. I should get the tripod going. I'm going to put this way and see if the scope will fit like that. Alright, so let me put this down. I'll be right back. So I wasn't sure if I could get that. My tools are not the most high quality, and I didn't know if I was going to break the bit, and at one moment I thought I was going to break the bit. Now I'm not going to torque this down hard. I'm just putting it in because I want to see if my scope will even fit on there and give me enough eye relief. Otherwise I'm going to have to rush into town. This is 2 days before the hunt, and I'll have to rush into town and get a longer rail here. So hopefully this will work. Now I'm going to put this on, and then we'll try to see if the scope will fit and can be adjusted at that point. I really should get my tripod going here. Alright, I'll get my tripod and we'll check this out and see how it works. Okay, now I did not tighten this down, it's just sitting together. Again, I never had to really deal with this much. I've never dealt with modding out anything. I always had military surplus, cheap, rugged, reliable, iron sights. And that was my thing. I loved and preferred iron sights. That was my thing. But times change. I'm also more serious about the hunt, more than ever before. Now let's see. Now that is no good. It's only worse. Yeah, that isn't any good. It's no good. No good at all. Okay, that means I have to make an emergency run into town because no matter how I set these, I cannot get my scope to mount in here. There's no playroom. There's no adjustment. It's either fits or it doesn't, even reversing that. So that's it for that. So 2 days before the hunt, I'll be taking a rush trip into town to get the amount for that. So I guess we'll see you guys in a while. So I'm just preparing this, getting everything apart and ready to put on the new mount when I get home later today. So I have to manage to go get the new rail, get it on, get the soap sighted in, and fire some test rounds today. I'll be able to manage. It's not a problem. There we go. Now I gotta go take a trip into town. Alright, I'm back. Two things are different. One, I've got an actual gun rest. I'm in my office here. I went to a sporting goods store and got the actual Weaver rail. So you can't go wrong with the real original name. So I've got a mount, more of a universal mount, longer, and I checked it in the store to be sure that it lined up with the screws on here. I wanted to be absolutely sure that would line up before I did anything. So I took it with me. It comes with its own screws, which I'm going to try out and make sure, because I want to make sure that the screws fit happily. So I'm going to check out and see if that's the same driver that I have. I have to check what driver that is. Well, that's a flat screw. So I'll get the flat screw out and we'll put this together. Okay, let's pop these little screws in there. So these are the normal flat tip screwdriver. Put one in each opposite end first. And then I'll put in the middle ones. I'm not torquing it down yet. I'm just getting it in there, making sure I line up the threads nicely. Actually, I read, let me check those, make sure they're all the same. I read somewhere that a certain rail set had two different screw sizes. There are two different sizes. I gotta double check that. For some reason, that's right. So the front is the shorter. I want to check if there's any instructions on that, but for some reason there's two different screw lengths on these. Now I'm going to double check that if there's any instructions. There's no instructions. No instructions. I'm just going to go with what I read on the internet and put the long ones in the back. Why, I don't know, but there's the original screws were all the same size, and the ones that come with the Weaver kit are two different sizes. Two different lengths. So I'll put the short ones in the front, like I read on the internet, like I said, and the long ones in the back. Good thing I thought of that as I was going along. I don't know if it makes any difference at all, really, as long as they all go in there. And there's no nothing on the package to tell you anything about it or why. Now what I'm using here is the screwdriver tip with an extension to another driver that I have, which I'll be using in a minute. But it's just so easy for fine manipulating to do it like that. Now, before I torque anything down, I want to make sure that I can line this up. So these are going to have to go in. Well, that's a much wider base. Oh boy, I hope that this fits. Yes, okay. I wasn't in the slot. So I'll have to figure out where these go best for my scope. But I want to set this on here and get a look at how it's going to be here, see? And then I'm going to have to adjust for my eye relief as well. So we're getting there. Now I'll go ahead and secure the screws in the base firmly. Get that in there really well. No, I'm not torquing yet, I'm just going to get it in tight. And then I'll come back and torque it. And I'm going to have to get the camera out of the way because I'm going to be really firm on that. So just trust me, I'm going to get my body right in there and torque that down tight. So not enough to break the screws, but enough to make sure they don't come loose. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, now that's on. Now I can pop these on. So originally, the original hole was here, and I need to come up one or two at least. Alright, I'm going to come up two from where it originally was. And the original was right in between here, and I'm going to come up two here. I wonder if it matters. I know we got the extraction here. I'm going to put the screws on the opposite side in this case, because now we're getting closer to the bolt and where the shell casing comes out. And I don't want to have any trouble there in the future. So we'll reverse the side here where the screw goes in. There. Now there's nothing really in the way now. That's my reasoning. Now I'm going to torque them down too once I'm done finalizing what's going where and how. Paying attention to what I'm doing. So now I have some adjusting room here, see? I can figure out where I want that much better. I could even come back one, but I don't think it's not really in the way. I highly doubt that's going to cause any problem with ejection because the ejection port's here and it's barely in the way. But I prefer to have my scope firmly mounted like this and give me enough playroom forward and backward. So we'll put this on there. And then we'll figure that out. And just get everything loosely started. And then when we're done with this, I'll be using the bore sighter that I got. The laser bore sighter. It's a 308. Looks like a 308 caliber bullet. It goes in the chamber and goes right, sights right down the barrel. So you can get your scope within 25 yards without a single shot fired downrange. Okay, now I've got to adjust for my eyes before I tighten anything down. So, because I'm not sure yet if I might want to move these or anything. So that I'll do off camera. I'll be back in a minute. Alright guys, I've got it adjusted to where I like it. This is from first look down the barrel, or down the scope, this is a beautiful looking scope. The optics are just crisp. Really crisp and beautiful. I like it. Alright, well, I'm going to tighten things down and torque it down, and that's it. We will talk to you guys later. This is Troy from TR Tech Tactical and Survival, modifying my Savage Axis to fit a better scope.